Gabby, you've called in amazing women in the Las Comadres community.
Oh my god, yes, Jamie.
I want to know more about how they made it.
Yes, right? They're real stories. Where the idea for their business came from, how they invested in it, how they got their clients.
I think this is a podcast.
Well, fairy godmother, you're hosting it.
Do you dream about me?
We are thankful that we are here. So, welcome everybody. Welcome also to those who are seeing us beyond Las Comadres. We are super excited to be here again on Friday. And if you are new to this, just know that this is part of our lunch break initiative, which consists on us having this casual and light conversations during the week, every day on the weekdays at noon. And we are bringing the experts in Las Comadres to talk about the things that we consider we need the most in these particular moments. So first of all, I wanted to present the women that we have here. We have here as Ash Jones, ancestral healer, spiritual coach, and conscious business strategist. Hello, Ash. We also have Lauren Marcicano, Squire, co-founder of the law firm Marcicano and Leiva PLLC, and founder of the networking marine community. Then we also have Michelle Greige, CPA and money mindset coach. And we have Christina Francois. I don't know if you pronounce it with like French, yeah, Francois, executive director of New Americans of the Miami-Dade. So, welcome everybody. The topic for today is going to be how is this impacting small businesses? So the topic is navigating these times as small businesses. We know that as part of Las Comadres, many of us, not everybody, but many of us are running small businesses. And we know that these times might be affecting us in a specific way that is different from the rest of the world. And I really think we have a powerful team here to talk about it. First of all, I would like to ask you, just get deep into this, like tell me something you are grateful for right now. For example, Ash, what are you grateful for?
Well, alrighty, I'm happy to kick it off. I'm grateful for space. You know, I know that this is a trying time for everyone, and yet we are all being asked to slow the whole entire fuck down and think about what we're doing, who we are, what we're here for, and how we serve. And even our relationships. So I'm enjoying, and I'm so grateful for the space, for this call, for this happening. Yep.
What about you, Lauren?
Woo! What's going on? Well, number one, I'm grateful to be here. But I think for like just gratitude in general, I think I'm most grateful for the new perspective it's given to so many people, including myself, about our businesses, our lives, our resilience, what we can overcome, what we can do all together collectively, and it even emphasizes more supporting each other. So I think I'm super grateful for all of that. And for you ladies.
What about you, Michelle?
Hi, everyone. Well, I am grateful that I've been able to be of support to my friends and my clients. So it's been a busy time for me, and it's been great that I have the range to do that.
Christina.
Hi, everyone. I'm thankful for collective learning. I think that this is a really rare moment where everyone on the face of this planet is going through something together, and we're all learning from each other as we, learn by trial and error and pivot.
And I am grateful for the mountain I'm seeing right across my window, because it gives me so much perspective. So I'm grateful for perspective in itself. So, okay, let's go right into it. I would like to know your opinion on how do you think this is impacting specifically small businesses? What do you think is the most important thing they are being impacted by? Who wants to start? Lauren?
I was like, I volunteer as tribute.
Yep. Go.
We're gonna just volunteer ourselves. So number one, I have to say this every time I'm on something. I am a lawyer, but anything I say is not legal advice. It's for educational purposes only. Just get that out there. Hashtag lawyered. But I would say that the thing that's impacting businesses the most is definitely having to learn how to pivot to online. Because I think more and more businesses are seeing the benefits of online. Like, I've known it forever. I've been telling my clients for a long time to get online assets out there. My husband, my new husband, oh my God, just got married right before all this. Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank everything. He actually makes virtual reality video games, and he does AR and VR and everything. And one of his best-selling things is a VR asset that just makes him money. He updates it every once in a while, but it's just making him passive money. I have online courses that people like learn how to form businesses and do their own contracts. Those are all things that you can be selling online. And people, I think, are needing to be more creative. So they call someone like their business lawyer, their business coach, whoever, friends, and they talk about how can I pivot online? How can I offer something online? How can I be of value? Because I think more than ever, people are seeing, I think, a switch in the last 3 weeks, because people before were buying more education. Like Christina was saying, education has become so important. And there's that old African proverb that I think is at least African. That's what I've been researched and told, that if you want to, go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And what I've always said is, if you want to go fast and far, invest in yourself, your online education, and the wisdom of others, which is why we're all here today, right? And this is a free investment, or partial investment in Las Comadres, but free to come on. And I think that more and more people are seeing you need to add real value for that, real value for your time. And everyone can be offering something online, no matter who you are. Whoop, whoop.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree. I think to piggyback on that, since you mentioned value, I think small businesses and really all of us are looking at what value even means. Because what we were selling for $5,000 programs or $1,000 programs or $100 programs or $25 free trial this or whatever it was, everyone's like, wait, do I want to spend that? Is it actually valuable? Are we gonna, and not just even money, but also the currency of time. Will I have enough energetic resources to show up to a program or to have a coach help me or to whatever, invest in whatever it might be? So I think we've all got to sit back, and we all have been sitting back and being like, what do I actually need to offer? Which is what I believe when it comes to conscious business. I full disclaimer here, I cringe when everyone's like, I just want to get to my first 100,000 a month, and it's like, yeah, for fucking what? I'm gonna curse a lot. Like this is what it is, y'all. Just so you know, I'm Ash Johns. I'm spiritual and I curse. So
I approve this message.
Yeah. So, I cringed at that, because we're not even saying why the hell we want 100 grand, or, what are you paying? What are you investing for? What do you need other than crude capitalism? And that's the culture that we are a part of. Now, if you tell me, and not that you have to answer to me, but looking at the collective of what we use money for, or what money actually is, we use it to get the things that we need and or want. So what we're being asked, what is enough? What is the value of money? What is the value of my time? And needing to renegotiate those so that we are not only taking care of ourselves, but have enough to give to others. And that goes back to the whole point of this collective movement of caring for each other. So yeah, people are repricing things as they should. People are looking at what they need as they should. I personally have looked at things and taken a nice long break on what am I selling or offering in service, and what is a fair and energetically balanced exchange for the folks who say yes to that piece of offering or message or healing or consulting or strategy work that I'm offering. So yeah.
Yeah, building off of what Ash was saying, I think of two things, particularly for small business. It is okay to pause and to take the time to actually reassess on what you're offering, it's okay. I know that people are rushing to, oh no, like what is my cash flow going to look like? How long can I stretch? You will actually get further along if you take time to be intentional. And there are a lot of resources out there, and there's a lot of information being pushed out, and it's overwhelming, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed. And so really take the time to see, you know, do you really want to sign up for a loan? I'm sure we'll like talk about like some of the different resources out there, but like loan versus grant, like take the time. And it will be okay. And again, this is something that is not just happening to you, it is happening to all small businesses, right? Your competitor is also going through the same thing, if you want to look at it through that lens. And then the other thing is to negotiate. Now is a time to negotiate. If you have vendors, if you know, your utilities, your mortgage, your rent, there's a moratorium on evictions right now. This is the time for you to, if you do have a brick and mortar, this is the time for you to actually negotiate, because since everybody is worried about their influx of revenue, something is better than nothing, right? And so be strategic, pause, and negotiate.
Love that.
Yeah, this is a time for many businesses to reinvest, to invest. I completely agree with Lauren on that one. There's a lot of people that, since maybe they cannot offer their full services right now, they should be, you know, reinvesting in themselves. I've done a ton of CPEs, even though I have a ton of work. So this is a time to whether reinvest and evolve. Going online, find out how your team can work from home. These are all things that, you know, now everyone is encountering and investing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you all mentioned like different strategies, and in the end, like you have the going online, but we may be talking to people that have their full business offline, or you may be talking about remote working and reinvesting and like the idea of spending this time to learn, and that also usually means spending money in a moment where you don't know what's going to happen. That can be challenging, no? So I think it's also a moment of really prioritizing what you really want to do, because it cannot be all the vast amount of offerings that we are getting from social media, which may be great, but there's so much that we really need to step back and think about what we really want to do. What would be, in your opinion, and we'll talk about resources too, but if you had to say one thing that you would recommend somebody that has a small business to do right now, what would it be? Who wants to start?
Well, one of the things that I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant, so I've been, for my clients that they are applying for loans, is to get their accounting ready so they can apply for it, getting all their forms, all their payroll, everything. If, you know, because people wait sometimes until the last minute to do their accounting and payroll, so now is the perfect time to catch up so they can be able to apply for these loans. So yeah, pretty much just trying to get, you know, their accounting done, trying to see what free resources out there. And even for education, there's a lot of free programs that people are, you know, they're online that they can do with, you know, with no money investment.
I think this is also a time to reach out to your clients. This is the time to actually relationship build and check in with your folks. So whether they're like donors in my case, or they're your coaching clients, or people who buy from you frequently, if you have an online or in-person store, reach out to them, see how they're doing. And I bet you people will say, how can they support you? So this is not the time to pitch them. This is the time to like check in and see like, what is it that they need? And use that as data points to figure out how you pivot. And the other is really like simply think of 3 ways that people can support you and post it on your social media if you have a social media site. One of the things that I really love about my local small businesses in my neighborhood is that You know, for example, I have a wine shop that's downstairs. They pivoted to, we can do pickup, and they partnered with a caterer to actually do weekend survival kits. Like, and they just said, hey, you may not, you know, this may not be the product for you, but like share, post, you know, or like order it as a gift to send to somebody else. Like they were really great about like 3 concrete ways that we can support them to keep their business afloat.
Ash, you go.
Like, okay. Similar to what Christina has said, I'm going to take it a little bit further in the sense that this is a good time to just take a really good deep pause, and that we all as small business owners have big ideas of programs, projects, offerings, products that we didn't have time to do, put on the back burner. Like, go back and revisit those things, speak to the spirit of your business. All of our businesses has an energy associated with, has a reason of being here, a greater purpose besides just what we do on the surface, right? There's a deeper reason why we've gone into business and why our businesses live. So really tuning into the energetics of your business, what it's being asked to do, how it wants to evolve, that it hasn't had that time to breathe or pause to do, and maybe sink into that. Like, really enjoy this as an opportunity to evolve your business, not just a pivot, not just a Band-Aid over and reactionary, but if you have the means to do so, really allow it to be birthed into something else. I think that this is a glorious time for that.
I love that. And so I didn't want to go first because I went first last time. And I wanted to give everyone else time to get their answers out there. Because I have so much in my mind right now. This is probably, I don't know how everyone else feels, this is the busiest I've ever been. And I know you guys have seen me where I go to a lot of events, I do a lot of work, and everyone's like, how did you survive? I don't know how I'm surviving now, because I have more back-to-back Zoom calls daily than I ever had before, because before I was limited to just me going to places, and now I'm just in front of my computer all day. But so I think so if I have my lawyer hat on, what I tell people is, this is the time to be looking at your contracts, because I've gotten more and more complaints about people, oh, my contract provision didn't have this, my contract didn't have that, people are canceling, how can I do? And I'm like, well, that's because I told you a year ago, 2 years ago, to come to me to look at these things. You didn't want to shell out, $500, and now it's going to cost you $3,000, $4,000 and up. And I think people are more and more seeing the value that attorneys have, whereas before they're like, oh, whatever, no. Now is the time to look at those contracts. Now is the time to see if you had a force majeure provision. Now is the time to see if you had attorney's fees and costs, if your contract is strong enough to hold up in court. And I'm not saying everyone should start litigating right now. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you had those provisions, what I could do pre-suit is send a nice letter on my letterhead, and we can get things going, right? And people want a result, because I think everyone wants to understand everyone's situations in this hard economic times, and you don't want to force someone to pay $6,000 instead of feeding their kids. I get that. But you're in a stronger negotiating position if you had these contract provisions. That's all I'm saying. Now, if I take my lawyer hat off and I have my networking maverick side on, I completely agree with Christina. This is the time to start building relationships that maybe you were afraid before. Maybe, you felt like you were pitching or you were being salesy or something by just reaching out. Now you have a super authentic reason, because we're all about authentic connections, right? A super authentic reason to reach out and be like, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? How can I support you? How can I help? How can I just be there for you? Is just shouting out or following you on a social media site or helping you with your YouTube? Do you need me to tell you what I use for my YouTube channel? Like, this is the time to reach out and info share and just help each other. Like, this is that time. And I guarantee you these bonds you're forging now in the fire are going to come out super strong, ironclad relationships. And just building relationships. I don't know if you've seen Jelsandra Guzman's new, what do you call it, challenge, where it's like, let's quarantine in style. But this is one of the outfits I used for that video. I wasn't lying when I said I use this for my Zoom calls. But anyway, that's that answer.
I don't know. I got to pop in here. This is going to be our first, I disagree. I feel like if you haven't been talking to people and you jump up in the moment of crisis, it's so inauthentic. I think got to be really careful about that. Like, if you're going to do it, be really, really gentle on how you do it. Because, think about it in everyday life. You're going through something and you're like, where the hell were you before this stuff went down? And there's so many people talking right now. There's no more stories on Instagram. It's just like live. Zoom. So if you have been absolutely silent and you haven't spoken to your community, any of your clients, your customers, folks on your email list, even though you haven't marketed or sold anything to them, if you're going to do it, I would start off with for real, be authentic. Be like, hey y'all, I haven't said shit in months now, but guess what? I'm a little worried about everyone, including myself. How is everyone doing? Not trying to sell it. I've literally sent out emails. It's like, this is not a Corona email, period. I have some poetry. I have a ritual that I want you to think about. Here's something about, how I'm pivoting my business, full transparency. I'm not talking about any Corona stuff. Here's a prayer for your money and your children and your this. Be hella real instead of, just we're saying the same thing, but the energy behind it is really important.
No, I completely agree. If you reach out to someone now and you're like, hey, I haven't spoken to you in a while, and hey, how are you doing? And then you say, but here's how you can support me. That's not authentic. What I'm saying is those people that you may have been acquaintances, might have seen them, might have had them in your, I guess we all have, circles of influence, right? If they were in those outer rings, but still there, and you hadn't really talked to them in a while, and then you felt bad because you're like, oh, but now I haven't talked to them in a year, so I'm not going to just reach out to them randomly. Now in the Corona, I feel like I've seen more people reaching out to me personally that maybe were scared before to reach out to me and ask for help or, ask what's going on. I don't know. But I think that it's super authentic if you reached out to them. Now, if it's someone you never have had any contact with, never have done anything with, and you're like, hey, how are you? Yeah, that's, I feel like.
That is hilarious.
Those cold email lists, the cold email lists, that way.
I think the key thing is now's the time to be curious. Were there people you were curious about or curious to see what a potential partnership would be, and approaching it with an open heart. And I think that's what both of you guys are saying.
Oh, I like the
we have the time. We have the time.
High five me. High five. You're over here.
Really? You're over here.
Are we Brady Bunching high fiving? What's happening?
I'm just gonna go like this. Hopefully I hit somebody.
I think it also goes back to the idea of you don't have to be selling right now. So when you approach somebody authentically and just say, hey, I know you are going through something that's similar to what I'm going through. And I just want to talk and see how you are. And that may lead to a client. I don't know, now in 1 week, in 1 month, or 2 years, I don't know, but it's more authentic to say, hey, because I found myself reaching out to people, not because I want their services right now, but because I might in the future, and I just got reminded of them. And then you are creating those connections based on something that it's purely human. I cannot ignore what is happening and just contact somebody and say, hey, do you want my online course? Well, and also because I don't think anybody here knows the secret formula of how to go through this. And I'm really grateful to have you here because you have a lot of information, a lot of insight for people, but it's still not the solution for, and especially not for everybody, because not every entrepreneur is the same, obviously. So yeah. Also, Christina, you mentioned one example before about the guy on the wine shop, but I'm really curious about, have you seen some examples of what people is doing right now that you think might be inspiring and useful for people?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot. So I will admit, I'm a shopper. I'm a consumer of all things, whether it's training, plans, food, you got it, a party, I am there. That's my joy. And I'm constantly, I'm constantly looking for ways to support the people that I have been, knowing that I have finite resources, but I want to get the most bang for my buck. And so a couple of things, I've seen restaurants pivot to being grocery stores, like literally saying, you know, we don't have the capacity and we couldn't keep our kitchen staff, but we still have all this inventory of produce that we bought, so we can actually sell it to look, you know, to customers. I've seen places like a lot of collaboration. So now is also the time when a lot of nonprofits and for-profits are shifting to digital and have no idea where to start. So whether it's, I know that somebody had mentioned in the comments, now is a really big time for digital marketing. And so people have been offering their services for free, for example, to nonprofits, and then being able to like leverage that to get new clients so that you can see, you know, tap into a whole different network. I'm trying to think besides some of these are really like brick and mortar versus service based examples, just because a lot of these the companies are the hardest hit in terms of the stay-at-home order, right? A lot of people moving to curbside pickup, like my plant shop. Okay, so again, I have a plant shop. I get all my plants. You can see some of my plant babies in the background. And one of the things they did was you can order online and do curbside pickup. So we don't go inside. You have an appointment time. They're only open from like 1 to 4. Pebble and Vine, if you're curious, is what they're called. And you can pick up, and it's like people are inside, and people who normally wouldn't have plants are now like, crap, how do I make this a livable space? Like some oxygen generating plants. They have great tips and stuff on like what to pick. So those are a couple of interesting things that I've seen.
And not to shout out anyone in particular, but Michelle, a CPA, if you do not have a CPA, and I'm going to say this again, if you do not have a CPA, get one now because it's very important. Like lawyers are super important, you know, everything, but CPAs, you plan for those loans or grants.
Thank you, Lauren, because nobody appreciates me. I feel like during the year,
The backbone.
I appreciate you. But, thank you, Ash. But no, a lot of people have been reaching out, and it's only because they need the loans. And I'm like, but we haven't done your 2019 accounting. I need you're asking for your gross income. Or, you know, and people that I wanted, let's say, to like set up their payroll and they never wanted to pay themselves, now that hurts them because they need, you know, to have a reasonable salary in order to get the latest loans. So I know a lot of people love me, but sometimes I know relationship with money is hard, and that's how I became a money mindset coach, because you know, for me, doing marketing is hard. So now I understand how people, when they come see me, they're so afraid because, you know, it's a sensitive topic. But thank you, Lauren, for the shout out. Let's get those loans. There's a lot of like free money, you know, coming from the government that we can take advantage of. And let me just say, the stimulus payments are coming in 3 weeks. So be expecting your $1,200 hopefully in your bank or check. So.
Actually, talking about that, I was going to ask you about resources, and I know that next week we are going to be talking specifically about loans and grants, and we will get into every detail, but I don't want to miss the opportunity since you are here. Could you share some resources, like things that are also time sensitive that people might need to know now?
So we have the SBA loan, which is up to $10,000 that doesn't need to get paid back, so it's pretty much free. There is the new PPP from the CARE Act that now it opened today. So you can go to your bank, well, not go, but probably online, and start applying for that loan. And that is specifically to cover your payroll costs and your fixed costs, which is your rent or the mortgage for your office, utilities, payroll. There is a requirement that you don't let go of people that will make you pay the money back if you let go of your employees, or more than 25% of them. And I mean, there's the bridge loan also for Florida. And of course, if you filed your tax return, you are getting, for 2018 and 19, you will get your stimulus payment. If you haven't filed in a while, you need to file in order to get your stimulus payment. So these are some of the latest and greatest loans around.
So just to add to that, because so this, even though I'm not a CPA, I have been getting more and more calls about two things: the CARES Act, which is just passed, that Michelle was referring to, and also the expanded sick leave and FMLA, which came out two weeks ago, right? And it went into effect April 1st. So it's too much to go into just on stream. I have a free resource out there for you if you need it, but just know that there is a sick leave out there, and there is EMF, the expanded FMLA, but there are certain provisions, there are certain exceptions. It's harder to navigate. So you definitely want to reach out. If you have a lawyer, reach out to them, or someone that has legal knowledge. With the new loan program that Michelle was saying, not all banks are offering it today, right? That's an important thing that happened last night when the Treasury came out with these new, they increased the percent again. So it was 4%, then it went down to 0.5%, and now it's 1%. It was 10 years, now it's 2 years. So some banks are just gun shy about giving out the PPP loans. Like I reached out to my bank and they said it wasn't available yet, but to keep checking back. So it's an important thing to have all your ducks in a row. Make sure you have your CPA, you've reached out to whoever your CPA is. And if you don't have one, again, Michelle, good time to get a CPA. But because you need to have information. So even with the SBA loan, I think you need your gross revenue, you need your cost of goods sold, which is 0 if you're a service industry. But for the PPP loan, you actually need to calculate payroll, which is a very crazy thing. And your forgiveness is up to 10 and up to 10K, I think, but it gets reduced by layoffs that you might have had. And there's like a crazy calculation that you have to do. And it's outside my realm as a lawyer, even though I've read a lot about it and can tell you. But your CPA is going to say for your specific situation, this is what it's going to be. And it's so important, because I can tell you what the overarching thing is, what the rules state, and it's like, yay, new things coming out daily. Thanks, Lauren. But your CPA is going to know your situation, and they're going to say, hey, Ash or Christina or Esther, I have, as a CPA professional, looked at your books. Here is everything you need to help fill out this form, to help do this, and this is the money you're going to get back, and you're welcome. I've now protected you. You need that, or else you're just going in blind into all this stuff. So that's just a PSA out there.
Yeah, 2 key points to follow up on that. One is that, so I actually was just on a webinar about this with the new regs that were released last night. Is that it needs to be from the bank that you currently bank with. Right now, because things are in such flux, for you to actually get approved, you should be going to the bank that you currently bank with for the time being. It will change over time, but that's the first thing if you want to get it in now. The other I dropped in the chat box is accesshelp.org is a portal that Citibank, Microsoft, and a couple of other organizations we partner with just released this week that is very user-friendly. And it's like for individuals or small businesses or nonprofits. And it's just like, it lists the different resources and has a lot of Miami-Dade and Broward specific things, particularly local funds that you may be eligible for to cover your rent or your employees or stuff like that in the interim, that are grants instead of loans. And then the last thing was really to like everybody has said before, reach out for help. And folks that are service-based that have, let's say they're 1099 employees, like they have contracts for other small businesses, you'll have to do your own PPP loan. So one of the things that I found out was that like the independent contractors that I employ cannot be included in my payroll loan. You as a small business yourself would do your own. And I'm sure that next week we'll go into that more and other people can speak to that.
Another thing is, even though the application was supposed to be out today on April 3rd, independent contractors actually couldn't apply until April 10th anyway. So you couldn't have applied on April 3rd, even though it's a first come, first served basis. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Like everyone's saying, apply now, but you might not have been able to apply for the PPP. What you can apply for, not necessarily independent contractors, but other people that don't know how to apply for the PPP or whatever, and you might have your gross revenue and cost of goods sold, is you can do the EIDL loan, and within it, there's a 10K advance. And that you can get through the EID. Like I did that application just to see what it was going on, and we might get some money. I don't know. Let's see if we get approved. But you can do that 10K, and that 10K is separate from the PPP. So you can get both. You can apply for both. And it's my understanding, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, this is what my CPA has been telling me, is that the amounts you get from the 10K advance through the EIDL, as long as you don't use them for the payroll, the fixed expenses, whatever, you can still get the PPP loan as well and use it for those covered reasons to get forgiven. That's my understanding. So you can apply for both, just so you know.
Okay, I think
all of Michelle, which means correct. Thank you.
I really think this is gold, especially the fact of having all this information filtered. And I want to highlight that we are going to be talking about this more specifically this week. So if your head just went like, oh my God, what do I need to do? Just come with us next week and we'll explain everything one-to-one. We have 10 minutes left. And on one side, I want to encourage everyone that's listening and watching us that please ask questions if you have any. Okay, we'll be answering them during this call. But also, Ash, I wanted to ask you something, and I know that you talk with clients that also have small businesses. What are you seeing? What are the challenges that you are seeing in them right now?
That's a good question. I'm seeing a lot of people who want to do business differently and now are going through shock in their own personal life, and they don't know how to offer something or show up in their business and just feel quite frozen. So I specialize in spiritual branding and conscious business when I'm working with folks. So there are folks who want to do business differently. They want to make a good and abundant living and want to show up just well in the world to help with wellness, because there is a trend of selling wellness or selling good things into the world, but you do it in a way that's actually quite predatory in your marketing tactics, which is a whole nother conversation that I'm very passionate about. It's interesting to say, hey, we can all be more confident or more connected and more well, but you're using marketing that literally activates someone's nervous system in a negative way. So people are literally being like, wow, I don't feel well. The way that I would normally be taught to sell doesn't feel well. So how do I actually show up and do it in a way that's authentic? So we're navigating that. I have this is not selling, but if you're interested in stuff, you can find me online. I have a program or a group, really it's a community group called Spiritual B School, where we literally hold space for every single person to look at what's happening in their business and how they can navigate or show up more authentically and align with their higher spirit and the spirit of their business and the folks that walk with them. So yeah, it's a lot of like, I would feel guilty to ask for this now or this amount. So how do I show up and make it accessible for the whole community and take care of myself? And there are algorithms, I'm gonna say algorithms, that's a little elaborate. There are formulas you can use that's like, what do you actually need? And then how do we make it accessible for the community? And so what I think of, a lot of times people use the language of sliding scale. I actually think of diversity in our pricing and in our offerings. That's what I actually teach to people. Some people will be like, oh, I'm the multi-million-dollar coach. It's like, okay, well, that also creates this. I'm going to go on a whole tangent, so let me just hold back. Just think about all the folks that deserve the magic and the information that you have. And now this pandemic is making us have to show up for more than just who's comfortable or who's able to pay at a certain level. So diversifying your price point, diversifying your offering, instead of having a whole 9-month, if you're say an online coach or have an online program, or you teach, graphic design for book creators, I don't know. And it's normally a 6-week, 8-week, 9-month situation. How can you break that down into small workshops that's accessible, not only with just time and energy, but also financially for the people who still are interested in learning, still want to put something out in the world. We're just going from having a whole smorgasbord and just being like nom 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 and offerings and money to being like, oh wait, what do I need to eat? What do I need to offer? What do we need to be a little more selective with how we're shopping for things, if that metaphor helps. But that's it. It's paralysis of I want to be here and I want to take care of other people. How do I find the balance?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Vivian Loren is watching us and she said, I've pivoted to much more heart-centered presence for big business and places that are typically cold.
Yes. For those who are super heart focused, like Vivian, I know that she's very active on I know that she's very active on LinkedIn, but it's like some of us tend to be a little bit more spiritual or more conscious in our approach or more social servicing. Get into LinkedIn, get on those podcasts. Like more now than ever, they need that heart-centered focus, heart-centered offering as opposed to the hard sell is a big pivot. I think there's a framework around it called feminine marketing, feminine business that is just way more inclusive, a lot more trusting, a lot more sowing the seeds and reaping the benefits later, as opposed to the way we've been taught to do business, which is like right now, bottom line, give me the black, like fuck off and let's keep going, to be a little bit harsh with it. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I'm an ex-marketer, I'm an ex-advertising executive. I know what it looks like to be like, okay, keep the ball rolling. And it is not business as usual right now. It isn't.
I think one of the things that's been very interesting, and for me, just in like thinking about this heart-centered, is us shifting the understanding of what is deemed essential, right? And I think that is going to show up in who we say our clients are and what we serve. When we think of like, there is the new normal also brings to the forefront a bunch of people who have been holding up our communities, and how do we actually show up for them? So when we're talking about the delivery man, the grocer, the cashier, the whole gamut, not just obviously like the nurses, the phlebotomists that take your blood, like everybody that is propping up our healthcare system.
Teachers.
Yes, teachers. Yeah, exactly. Like now there's a whole new appreciation with people with little gremlins, like having your kids all day is really different. And so I think just one little drop that I want to put out there for small businesses is as you're pivoting and figuring out who or how to meet the demand of the moment, also in diversifying your price point and diversifying your clients, think of how you can support people who need it the most right now and are really taking care of us.
Yes. Loved it.
Hell yeah. Super.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe time is already up. It went by so quickly. I want to be mindful of your time, and I'm sure this conversation will keep on going the following weeks. I'd love to talk more with you. I know we'll be talking with some of you next week. But also, I wanted to just thank you all, Ash, Lauren, Christina, Michelle. Thank you for being here. It's been beautiful. I also love the combination of knowledge that it's mixed up in this call. And I think we need all of it. We need the spiritual, we need the money mindset, and we need the marketing. We need we need every bit of it. It's not about black or white. It's about all that is in between. Also, I wanted to say for everybody that's looking and watching, I hope you enjoyed it. I also want to remind you that every time we do these lunch breaks, we include a link for donations, small donations that you want to give either to the community or to some of the panelists. You can just write the name of the panelists when you donate. We are all entrepreneurs, or almost everybody in this community is entrepreneurs. So we are all having, well, not everybody, but in some way, everybody's having a hard time. And with if something here resonated with you, we would really appreciate those donations, and we will be giving back to the community with those. So I think we don't have any more comments. So thank you again. We'll be back on Monday at lunchtime at noon. And I think this is all. Thank you, ladies, for everything.
Las Comadres is a community of entrepreneurial women reclaiming sisterhood and uplifting each other in life and in business. Music for the Las Comadres podcast provided by Afro Beta. Learn more about our community and join us at lascomadres.club.